Good evening. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Tonight is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Clark County Board of Commissioners for Thursday, March 28th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for prayer, please? Mr. Fox, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, we just thank you and give you glory for this day. Lord, as we come to this time to be before you, first of all, remembering the resurrection that saved us, that you sacrificed all for our sins, Lord. We just ask you for the blessings of your Son doing that for us, Lord. Right now we come to you before with, issues to bring about, Lord, that we constantly reminded that you are in control. You are watching over us, and you actually redeemed us. And Lord, we'll always be dependent upon you. And Lord, you give us the strength and the knowledge to always reach out to the Lord. So in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next up is the approval of the meeting minutes for March 14th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for March 14th, 2024.
I will second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the meeting minutes for March 14th, 2024. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next up is approval of claims and payroll.
Payroll on order.
Thank you, sir.
I make a motion to approve the claims and payroll as presented by the Clark County Auditor.
I'll second.
Motion and a second on the floor to approve claims and payroll as presented by the Clark County Auditor. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments? And if there are none, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
So motion and a second on the floor to approve the agenda as presented. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next up is public comment. Okay. So public comment tonight, 3-minute speaking period. Please let us know your name and your address, and your 3 minutes will start after that, please. First up is Miss Kelly Curry.
Kelly Curry, 4819 San Noble Road, Jeffersonville, Indiana. Thank you all. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see you again. I just had a question about D. Connie, I probably may address you because you're on the Plan Commission.
About who?
Plan D, the ordinance,
Item D.
the ordinance, yeah,
Oh.
number D, I should have said. Anyway, so you all are removing the cap, so that additional funds don't go to the general fund, right? Am I understanding it right? So the Plan Commission annually draws average how much revenue from the fees, the permit fees, would you estimate?
I don't know. It varies, of course.
Right,
But
right.
I'm going to say maybe 300,000 to 350, and that may be a little low.
A little low.
It might be a little. It could be. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have that on top of my
Okay,
head.
but that's fair, that's fair. So I was going through some minutes and I noticed a proposal, or actually, I guess you all voted on it, for the solar fees for the possible commercial large-scale solar facility that was proposed last year to come into the county. And those fees were rather high, and the representative that Jackson Daugherty was complaining because the fees were higher than, he said, average. And it looked like in the minutes it averaged almost $800,000 by the time this project would be finished. That's a lot of money in your coffers. If you're already averaging, say, $350, that's all gonna be over $1 million in the Plan Commission funds, which, I wanna go to the general fund. I want a cap on it, because I think we need a cap. I mean, $1 million, what, y'all bought trucks, I think, some vehicles.
We bought one.
One last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So knowing that could be coming into your coffers, and it not reverting, you know, it's a lot of money. So I just wanted to state my opinion on that. There was something else and I don't write it down, so I don't remember. I got a couple minutes, right? Let me think here. I don't know, I guess it left me.
Pressure's
But-
on.
Huh?
Pressure's on.
No, I just, you know, I got other things in my head too, and it never ends in my head, you know. But, I just, am really interested now about that cap. I think we need a cap on that. I think we need money into the general fund for operation. I'm sure the planning commission needs money. We need money more. That's just my opinion. I'm done. Thank y'all. I'm done. Nobody has to drag me away this time, right? Officer? There you go.
Thank you, Ms. Curry. Next up is Ms. Basham, Sandy Basham.
Hi, I got some handouts with some did in. I want you to notice.
Thank you, Sandy.
Separate ordinances, be the dead works, right?
Okay.
Sandy Basham, 15219 New Market Road, Marysville, Indiana. So I brought you today a copy of the Spencer County's Solar Ordinance. I was gonna highlight the things that both Spencer and Clark have in common so that you can compare them and maybe even highlight the ones that Spencer has that Clark doesn't, but I would have ran out of my highlighters, so I wasn't able to do that. But I just wanted to point something out. Cusco County has a 20-page solar ordinance, and in 2021, their population was 80,106. Wabash County has a solar ordinance that consists of 26 pages, and their population the same year was 30,816. Spencer County has a solar ordinance, which you have. It's 33 pages. In 2021, they had 19,798 people. I will give you this one, Jay County. Theirs is only 9 pages long, and they have a population of 20,248. I would like to point out, though, that Clark County in the same year had a population of 122,738 people. And with that many people to protect, you would think that our solar ordinance would probably fall somewhere in between that on the pages, maybe even better because we have more people to protect. No, our ordinance is literally 5 pages long. And it fails to address many things that in other counties were addressed in their ordinances. We did have a meeting with a couple of you and Amy, the consultant. I think that was on January 24th. We provided a list of 24 proposed changes to the current UDO in regard to solar. The Planning and Zoning Board is going to listen to us on April the 10th. However, if I were to make a list of my top 10, the things that I find most important, there's only 3.5 of those are addressed in what we're looking at proposing, those changes. So they're gonna be discussed, but for some reason, the other ones that we had listed out of those 24, they were deemed impossible. So if we keep in mind that each one of those proposals that we ask for is in another county's ordinance within the state, I don't understand why we can't have it in ours. So I guess, you know, if it's in another county within Indiana, why can't we have it too? And I wanted to point out, because I still got a little bit of time, in your all's 2040 comprehensive plan, it was stated that one of the top strategies was to encourage continued use of agricultural land within the county. The key theme from the online survey was preservation of agricultural land and natural features. On page 28, you show that New Washington was a growth area. I know the school's attendance, that kind of thing, I know they worry about that a lot, not having enough kids. I mean, obviously we fill the land up with solar. I don't know how New Washington's gonna grow to be able to, you know, have more houses for kids to move in and come to the school. So, number 5 was to encourage the continuation of agricultural activities in Clark County. Again, the 2040 comprehensive plan pretty much stated that we were gonna try to better ourselves with our agricultural. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ms. Christine Horsley.
Christine Horsley, 22417 Mayhem Road, Marysville, Indiana, 47141. Good evening. I don't have a big elaborate speech like Sandy. Hers is very well prepared, but the main thing I wanted to talk about is we come in to discuss the proposed ordinances, and we've been kind of battling about this for about 6 months here in the county. And we come in with about, like she just said, 24 changes that we would like to see, proposed changes. And then in the ordinance that was posted, the proposed ordinances, there's about 10 that are addressed, but not all of those are our top concerns. You know, I trust that the things that are concerning to us as our elected officials, that you all will see that these are looked at. The things that Amy proposed, it did not address all of those. And we only get one chance to get this right. And I just want to give you an example of one of the things that, in my mind, I don't know how anybody could handle living next door to this. This is the intermittent noise. There's nothing intermittent about this. That's one. Nobody's gonna be able to handle that. And then there's the other, here's another example. This stuff don't lie. This is the noise that's coming from these things. Then we're seeing, you know, right now there's storms that have hit in, I think it was Texas, this about a week or two ago, destroyed the entire solar fields. There's gonna be chemicals coming out of those. There has to be, leaching into the ground. And, you know, we're gonna have these out here covered on all the farmland. And I know that it's their land, but when their land infringes upon the rights of us with noise, leaching chemicals, our water is not even being addressed. I know that people test for water, but do they test for cadmium telluride or silicone or lead? You know, these things are poisonous, and they're gonna be out here around all of us. And the setbacks. Initially, the setbacks were 150 feet. In the proposed, it's 250. In, I can't think of their, in the one, Spencer County's, theirs is 1,000 feet. And when you've got people like Anita Tillett and her husband, Dave Tillett, who's surrounded on 3 sides, or Miss Eldridge, who lives out Mayhem Road, she's surrounded on 3 sides. That's not fair, because they didn't ask for this. I'm not as close to these as them, but I'm gonna be hearing the noise off of them. And then our property values. If our property values drop 25%, we're losing while the solar company is gaining. It's just not fair. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Next up is William Firewright. And I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Close enough. My name's William Fairback. I live at 104 North 3rd Street, Henryville, Indiana. And the first question is why I was not put on the agenda when I called in at the beginning of this week to address y'all over Dean Alley. So therefore, since I was not put on there, I'm going to list some dates here as to what has conspired up or occurred up in Henryville to me. My previous owner purchased my building in June 15, 1982 with a purchase agreement stating that in 6 months the back lot would be sold to him that now is off of Dean Alley. On 8/11/99, the building fell and a resolution of 19/1999 allowed the building to be rebuilt, and county gave the address of 104 North 1st Street as the closest street due to the fact that Dean Alley was not named at that time or in the inventory. March 2nd, 2007, stop work order of an encroachment of an alley 6 months after I purchased the property in 06. March the 5th, 2007, a letter from Clark County Planning and Zoning stating, quote, "At one time an alley was located on this property but has been vacated," which it was not. Map in Planning and Zoning shows this alley. Finding of facts of January 16, 2013 confirms it. June the 7th, 2012, Tony Simones and David Nahan could not, stated in a commissioners meeting that they could not determine whether there is or isn't an alley there, but they were confident enough to write me up on an encroachment on March 2nd of 2007 and order the structure disassembled. August 1st, 2013, it was mentioned in another meeting about the good old boy system that still exists. Then there was several different occurrences. April the 15th, 2013, we were threatened by the neighbor while they were rebuilding. May the 29th, we were blocked in several different times, which is unlawful restraint. We were shot at 7 times between 2013 and 2015, twice at our building. Then on November 13th, 2013, Resolution 1-2013, changing my address from a parcel with a building and an address of 104 North Ferguson Street since 1999, Resolution 19/1999, backing that up, to be changed to 107 Dean Alley, a vacant alley in which you all said, Mr. Kaufman stated and represented that the sea container that I said was a portable structure without a foundation was not a structure. He presented it as a structure and changed my address anyway. The ordinances state that a vacant lot cannot be addressed, and that's what that is. February 29, 2016, a recorded meeting that I recorded as well as the county between the county commissioners, the surveyor, planning and zoning, Colonel Grove from the sheriff's office, and my wife, myself, and county attorneys, and Kelly Curry was in that meeting as well. It goes further on down as to why this, in 2015, or June 29, 2017,
Okay,
an
Mr.
ordinance.
Fairback, would you like to enter that into the record and have,
I would have liked to have been put on the agenda, and I was denied that, and I called in at the beginning of the week.
okay, would you like to have that entered into the record?
Yes.
Okay, then you can give that to Sabrina, she can enter that into the record, all of your notes there if you'd like them.
I'd like to have she make a copy of them,
Okay. If
but
you
I'd
want
like to be put on the agenda so I can present all of this.
If you'd like to, if you want to email those, fax them, you wanna hang around after and get a copy, whatever you'd like to do, we can enter
I
that
mean,
into the
bottom
record.
line is maintain the alley or vacate it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Make sure you make arrangements to get those put into the record if you'd like.
Do I need to meet her after the meeting?
Either fax, email would be best.
Okay, I can email.
Okay.
Where do I email it to?
She'll write it down for you.
She'll make sure you take care of it. Thanks, sir. Ms. Kaitlin, bless it.
Kaitlin Blessett, 320 Mary Street, Jeffersonville, Indiana, 47130. Okay, I wanted to follow up. I'm sure you all are aware that Floyd County commissioners voted to reject the RFP for New Chapel last night. And they are highly considering, well, some people are highly considering fire-based EMS. And I'm sure that you all are aware that I've been collecting a lot of information from our EMS subcommittee, trying to validate what Dr. Yazel has written for the past several years as far as unanimous recommendation for New Chapel here in Clark County. I understand that his letters state that there was a unanimous recommendation, but I have not been able to verify that information. I've talked to 2 people on the EMS subcommittee. I do not want to say their names because they haven't given me permission to do so. But they say that there were no contracts ever discussed. So one thing is I think that we should have an official EMS subcommittee, and I think that Dr. Yazel is in support of that as well as far as the documentation. So I'm just wondering if you all have heard any more about the EMS subcommittee becoming an official committee to where they can more directly voice their recommendations to you all instead of it going through somebody like Dr. Yazel. Have you all heard anything about that?
I've not heard anything official. I've heard they discussed it, but not anything official, no.
Okay, well, I think it would be a great idea for us to have an EMS committee here in Clark County, just like Floyd, because there are some very, very talented and, tenured people on that committee. Furthermore, in digging through all these records, I just can't understand why we ever entered into contract with New Chapel. They never met the response times, and this is not my opinion. This is data that I have dug through 300 pages coming from the health department saying that the response times have always been 10 minutes or longer. So we didn't even meet the safety plan of the Clark County Safety Plan 2014 for New Chapel to even meet the requirements of the original RFP. And there was a financial requirement. They were supposed to turn in financial documentation. obviously, we know now that New Chapel cannot possibly turn in any financial documentation. There's nothing on record, and we know that their financials are a complete disaster. So, not only should they have never even qualified for the RFP to be able to get a contract for 3 years, they are in total breach of their contract, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure Scott could weigh in on that. But if they're currently not meeting response times, which Dr. Yazel has filed a complaint as of January of this year, letting them know that they have not met response times, and they cannot produce financial documents, why are we not having conversations like they are in Floyd County? Like, why are we not meeting with the EMS people? Why are we not, Scott, you responded to my email that there is a contingency plan in place, but what is the contingency plan? I just don't understand why we're not having more conversations. Like, why are we not calling emergency meetings? Why are we not getting a plan in place? There's nothing being discussed with the people. So what is the contingency plan?
Is that how you go? All right. Thank you, appreciate it. That's all we have signed up for public comment tonight. Moving on to new business. First thing on the agenda is the Charlestown Fire Protection District levy increase request.
Ruben Cummings, I'm with GFC. I'm a firm that works with the fire district. Actually, with the Charlestown Fire District, I also work with Utica, New Washington, Monroe, as well as Charlestown Township and Jefferson Township. So I don't know how much background you want on this whole thing, but 2 years ago, we did the same thing for Charlestown. It was back up a little bit, several years ago, and they were just struggling because their levy was so low. Went to look for a max levy increase. Terry Gooden and Todd Houston went to work at the State House and came up with this formula that allows, if their population growth over the 10-year previous period is greater than 6%, they're for a max levy increase. Theory being that as population grows that fast, that the fire protection gets more and more expensive. They qualified in 2022. Jeff calculated that number to be 6.6 cents, basically, is what it is. They did not qualify last year. They do qualify again this year, which would put a max levy increase on for 2025. According to my math, they qualify for 15 cents, which is the maximum. I don't know, the DLGF will recalculate and may adjust that down a little bit. But what we're doing tonight really is asking for permission to send that to the state. This is in no means, you're not applying a levy increase. You're just giving the district a chance to get their max levy increase so they can have that for the future. Just like if the county had a chance to get a max levy increase, I would suggest they do that too, you know what I mean? Because you don't get any chances to get a maximum levy increase. So there's no discussion of applying it yet or using it anyway, just be able to make sure we have it for the future.
Okay. Yeah, so just to remind everyone, as he said, Indiana Code just makes this a requirement for them to submit a petition to the DLGF that the legislative body has to give permission basically to allow them to do that. So just to reiterate, we are not voting for any sort of levy increase. DLGF calculates that. And also that is still subject to the county council approval. They do a binding budget review of boards with non-elected officials. So when the county council does the budget adoption for the county, they also do a binding budget review for entities such as these fire protection districts, where they can still adjust. They do the final approval for the levy in a tax rate. Yeah, and not to confuse everything, just because a levy is increased doesn't necessarily mean that a tax rate's increased, because it's a complicated formula that the DLGF does anyway, and it depends on assessed value and some other factors. So if there's a higher assessed value, that will prevent technically from an actual tax rate increase.
Correct.
If the assessed value is high, is increasing along with the levy, there's no actual tax rate increase.
Yeah, theoretically, if the levy goes up 4%, AB goes up 4%.
Yeah.
It's a net zero change, right?
Yeah, so first of all, we're just allowing them to petition to have a levy increase, which is separate from a tax rate increase. We're not authorizing.
Like Scott said, the county council still has final say on what the adopted levy is, so.
So before you is a statement approving the submission of a levy increase request for Charlestown Fire.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve a statement approving the submission of a levy increase request for Charlestown Fire. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
I appreciate your time, and, again, we're under a time constraint, so it's always hard to get this thing done, because they get out so late to us. Fortunately, you guys will be late in the month, so it worked out perfectly.
Perfect.
I have to get it submitted by the 1st. Could you give me that as soon as possible?
As soon as the meeting is over, I'll scan it and email it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your help too.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe. Good night.
You too. Next up is Baker Tilly accounting agreements for the auditor's office. We have number 1, an engagement letter. Number 2, we have a scope appendix for the budget assistance. And number 3, we have the scope appendix for the gap accounting.
Yes, so to refresh everyone's memory, going back, beginning in 2020, Indiana legislature started requiring counties and cities of a certain population size to adopt gap accounting procedures, which totally changed the game for auditor's office for reporting. So there was a previous 3-year agreement with Baker Tilly to provide those professional accounting services to comply with all of the new requirements that came down from the state. So we just completed the first 3-year agreement with Baker Tilly for the gap accounting assistance. So we have the new for the year 23, 2024, and 2025, because they started doing all the gap accounting after the conclusion of the year. So it's for years 2023, 2024, 25, for the amount of $105,000 per year. I believe it's the same rate that we've been paying for the last 3 years for the gap accounting services. And then also something new for this calendar year, 2024. In years past, the auditor's office was utilizing the Association of Indiana Counties for $25,000 per year for budget assistance, with all the other requirements to prepare the budgets and so forth. So at the request of the auditor's office, the county counsel's office, they would like to utilize Baker Tilly going forward for the budget assistance, since Baker Tilly's already been doing the gap accounting. So instead of using AIC for the calendar year 2024 for the budget assistance, we're going to, at the recommendation of the auditor and the county council, to utilize Baker Tilly for not to exceed amount of $25,000. AIC's contract is for a flat amount of $25,000. This is not to exceed. So there's an anticipation that Baker Tilly will do it for less than what AIC is doing. So technically, you have the engagement letter and then the 2 different kind of scope agreements, the scope for the gap accounting for 3 years, and then the agreement for budget assistance for 2024.
We can do all these in one motion if you just want to specify the 3 different agreements that we're requesting approval for.
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement letter agreement related to these services by Baker Tilly, and then also to approve the budget assistance and support services of Baker Tilly in an amount not to exceed $25,000, and then also include the scope appendix and assistance for the gap accounting for the auditor's office in the amount of $105,000 per year for years 2023, 2024, and 2025.
Oh, I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the Baker Tilly accounting agreements for the auditor's office, number 1 being the engagement letter, number 2 being the scope appendix for budget assistance with a not to exceed amount of $25,000, and number 3, the scope appendix for the gap accountings for the year 2023, 2024, 2025 in the amount of $105,000 each year. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the NIHART service agreement for the auditor's office also.
Yeah, so as you know, this was also something that's kind of like related to the gap accounting requirements that went into effect a few years ago. So this is the contractual agreement that we've done for the last several years. So pursuant to the laws that kind of go along with the gap accounting, there's something called GASB, the GASB, GASB 75 requirement for reporting. You have to do data collection, analysis, and actuarial valuation of your entity's post-employment benefits. So it's another detailed accounting actuarial report that's required under the rules that came into effect along with the gap accounting. So we've used NIHART the last few years for this. So for fiscal year ending 2023, the fee for their services is $7,600, and then the fee for the fiscal year ending 2024 will be $4,200 for providing these GASB 75 actuarial valuation reports.
I'll make the motion to approve the Nyhart service agreement for the auditor's office with the first evaluation for 12/31/2023 in the amount of $7,600, and then the evaluation for the year 12/31/2024 in the amount of $4,200.
I will second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the Nyhart service agreement for the auditor's office in the amount of, for 2023, in the amount of $7,600 and the amount of $4,200 for 2024. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the ordinance amending the non-reverting fund for the Plan Commission.
Yes, and to, for everyone's memory's sake here, so the original ordinance that created the non-reverting fund was back in 2007. It was ordinance 14-2007, and at that time, it was originally envisioned as any other department that collects permit fees. I think this was the only one where there was a cap on it, where fees would then go to the general fund. So the original ordinance stated that anything up to $150,000 would be put into that fund. That goes back to the days when the county had the maximum levy was reduced to the general fund, and that was at a request of the county council that some of those fees above the $150 would go to the general fund to be used for other expenses. And then as the general fund has become healthier, when the maximum levy was restored, things have kind of changed with the general fund. So then in 2019, at the request of the Planning and Zoning Office, there was an amendment that raised the limits where you could, the collected fees could be put into the non-reverting fund up to $225,000. So now the request has been that we remove that limit or cap. And I know there was some public comment earlier somehow that you know, it needs to go into the general fund, but you know, this kind of makes potentially the Planning and Zoning Office self-sufficient. So obviously, if the more fees that they're using, then that actually helps the general fund, because then the county council won't have to appropriate in their budget as much general fund money if they have their own non-reverting fund. It's still subject to county council appropriation. So obviously that helps alleviate the general fund by utilizing the non-reverting fund that the general fund would otherwise pick up. So it doesn't hurt the general fund, it actually will help, because it can reduce how much general fund money is being used for this office. So,
Gotcha. Fair enough. Do we have ordinance number? 8.
So I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 8, an ordinance amending the non-reverting fund ordinance for the Clark County Plan Commission.
I will second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve ordinance number 8-2024, which is an ordinance amending the non-reverting fund ordinance for the Clark County Plan Commission, amendment to the ordinance number 17-2019. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the interlocal agreement with the town of Borden for ditch cleaning services.
yeah, so this is something that the county's periodically done over the years for Borden and other small municipalities to aid them to have our highway department help do ditch cleaning services along the roads. So this is consistent with prior interlocal agreements where our county highway department will be providing the labor and materials to clean the ditches. And these particular ditches varies from over the years, so there's a schedule list there. So we're talking about ditches on East Main Street from 501 towards the west, approximately 1,000 feet. Daisy Hill Road and West Main Street, approximately 1,000 feet. Another Daisy Hill Road, about approximately 40 feet from a culvert, and then 150 feet to the southwest of that culvert. Cabin Hill Road ditch at the corner of Walnut Hill Cemetery, and a culvert pipe of approximately 800 feet. So kind of routine aiding our smaller municipalities.
And what's our resolution number on this? 2. And just so you know, I know you all have looked, but those ditches are outlined in Schedule B of the resolution.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2, 2024, resolution approving the interlocal agreement with the town of Borden for ditch cleaning services.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve resolution number 2-2024, a resolution approving the interlocal agreement with the town of Borden for ditch cleaning services. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the CyberTech quote for Human Resources laptop. So you have a quote before you now. I'm assuming Leanne needs a laptop because she's traveling in different locations, is that correct?
Yes, to be honest with you, my predecessor kept a hard desktop in only one office. I have a mobile office. I at our judicial center 2.5 days a week, here 2.5 days a week, and I believe in meeting our people where they're at and working on their schedule, not business hours. I need my tools to work and be heavy duty enough for me to serve our workforce.
Fair enough, thank you.
She did get other quotes, and, CyberTech was the cheapest.
So, yeah, we wanna put those on the record.
If you wanna look at those, we can put those on the records also.
Yeah, we gotta read those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not asking for anything super high tech or frilly. I want heavy duty and will withstand the years and what I need it to do to be able to support our people, regardless of where we're at or what's going on.
So quote 2 came back in the amount of $1176.99. Quote 3 came back at $1187.68, and CyberTech's quote came back at $1125.74. So they were all within.
Can you say what companies those are for the record?
Best Buy,
Ooh, okay.
Best Buy, and then Amazon.
So this quote number 3 was Best Buy, and quote number 2 was Amazon. Quote number 3 from Best Buy was $1187.68. Quote number 2 from Amazon was $1176.99, and then quote number 1, I'm assuming, from CyberTech is $1125.74. They were all within about $60, $70.
So I make a motion to approve,
Yeah, it's called the record, yeah.
the payment to CyberTech in the amount of $1,125.74 for a new laptop for Human Resources.
I will second. I do want to clarify, what fund did we determine we were going to pay that out of? I know we talked about it.
It's coming out of the IT services under the Commissioners,
Yes, okay,
4930.
thank you. I did second.
Oh, okay, that's the second, okay, my bad. So there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the quote from CyberTech in the amount of $1125.74 for a laptop for Human Resources to be paid out of $49.30, you say? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, under old business, is our tractor and mower bid award for the highway department. If you recall, we opened bids at the last meeting, and we had some questions about the different standards and specifications, and after a letter from Mr. Dixon, our highway engineer, I think we've got that clarified. So before you today is an approval of, or an acceptance of one of the quotes from Wright Implement for a John Deere tractor and the Tiger mower. And that amount is in the amount of $404,451.70. And if you write that down, you can.
I make a motion to approve the quote from Wright Implement for the tractor and mower in the amount of $404,451.70.
You would say based upon the written,
Based
recommendation
upon
of
the
county
written
engineer.
recommendations from our county engineer.
And I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to accept the quote from Wright Implement in the amount of $404,451.70 based on the recommendations and criteria set forth by our county engineer, Mr. Brian Dixon. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. And I'm assuming those are ready to go, correct, Brian?
I believe so, yes, I'll have to verify, but yes.
Okay, I thought so. All right. That is all for old business. Moving on to reports from department heads and elected officials. Mr. Auditor, anything tonight? Okay, Mr. Attorney?
Nothing for tonight.
Okay. Mr. Dixon?
I have a couple things. The MS4 annual permit has been submitted and received at IDEM, so we're good for that. And the tree clearing at Willinger Bridge is now complete, so we have met the deadline on that, and that's ready. Once we get the final documents prepared, we can go ahead and issue those bids for that.
So once we get what document are we waiting on before we can issue bids?
We need to make sure that the plans are done and they have purchased all the property they need to purchase, and utilities are moved according to the schedules that they have laid out.
Do we have an anticipated date?
We're looking at, I had it written down, I don't have it with me, but I'm looking at near the end of April, I think, is for the bid date.
Starting by June 1?
Yeah,
Okay,
I believe so.
all right. Thank you, appreciate it. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Sheriff's Department, Major Mobley?
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Our jail population is 419 total inmates. 52 of those are federal inmates.
All right. Thank you for the chips, tokens. What are these called? I forgot what they're called.
Challenge coins.
What, I'm sorry?
Challenge coins.
Challenge coins. We were thinking about it and it slipped our mind. Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Any more elected officials or department heads? Seeing none, moving on to other business. Any other business? All right. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much for attending.